AccessGreen is a generative AI-based UI/UX compliance review and improvement recommendation engine. What are the technologies we've used in AccessGreen? We have our own custom module called HTML to text. We are also using Alpaca, which is an LLM. We are corely using transformers and then Hugging Face models to enable the training. Now, TensorFlow is one more thing we plan to use, and then Streamlit facilitates our UI. AccessGreen is a cutting-edge web analysis tool which leverages the power of large language models to provide comprehensive evaluations of web UI designs. Basically, we have a ton of guidelines out there. To come up with something very comprehensive, we are planning a tool called AccessGreen. Now, why do we need this tool? There are three main points: inclusive user experience, corporate social responsibility, and competitive advantage and environmental factor. Now, inclusive user experience, of course, with all the guidelines in place, we are enabling a lot more users. And then the corporate social responsibility, we obviously are creating an environmental responsibility factor. And then with the competitive advantage, with all these designs in place, we are also creating a rapidly evolving digital market with a positive impact. Now, what exactly is that are we trying to solve? Now, we have a complex fragmented landscape wherein there are a lot of guidelines around green coding and then accessibility coding and then whatnot that it's difficult for the developers and designers to choose out of. Now, what if we had a central tool which would suggest us how to go about things as a one-stop solution? And that is our problem statement. Now, variety in the guideline kind of deepens why we need this solution. AccessGreen plans to utilize large language models to serve as the central repository of the solutions that promote the guidelines for these designs. Now, how are we planning to do it? We have a web UI through which the HTML of the web page or the UI is presented, and then we are converting it to using our own custom model, HTML to text. Once the text is there, the description of the HTML, basically, let's say if the HTML has a nav bar and it's in blue in color, and then the text says the same thing, this we present to the transformer or the LLM that we have trained on all the guidelines that are there. Now, the expectation is that it gives us the suggestions so that we adhere to these guidelines. Now, the best part out here is the LLM, being a large language model, can take in large amount of text as prompt as well and as training data as well in terms of the guidelines. Now, what is the future work and how do we plan on scaling it? We plan on generating UIs based on these recommendations automatically instead of just the recommendation being textual. Incorporation of more guidelines, which are more dynamic, taking images inputs and then automated scans of all pages of websites. Basically, you give the URL of the website, you get the recommendation or the guideline that is pretty much required for it. AccessGreen is a generative AI-based UI